And we had shot a lot of Superman 1 and 2 together at the same time. So you may have seen some footage of a scene I did with Brando somewhere in that 12-day crisis period when he was with us. Someone's hadn't been right here. Question is, Mike, any more work with Hollywood Effects Masters? That's a program, I don't know if you've seen it around here, have you? The answer is they're basically done. I mean, I think we made 26 of them. So they basically told the story. They don't? Well, it's been marketed all over the world. I know it's played in Germany, it's played in England, played all over. We shot 26. So it's a question of they're sold independently in each territory. So it's just who bought them in your area. But there are 26 available. But let me ask you guys, a serious question. I've had mixed feelings about whether or not we should be making these shows that tell you how all the effects are done. Do you think that it devalues the movies, or is it valuable inside? Do you think it's okay?
Yeah.
So do you think that the audience, when you know how the flying was done, or you know how they do that thing or whatever, it doesn't ruin your desire to see the film? That's okay. I'm not worried when I made it, whether I was doing the wrong thing. It's right, sir.
Yeah. How much is there that Superman 5 is pre-production?
How much food is there in Superman 5 in pre-production? I don't know. It was going to be made in Orlando, Florida, at the Universal, got huge studio facility down there. And the good news would have been that Ilya Salkind and Alexander Salkind, who made the first movie, and then the second movie would be back. And they bought the rights back from Golden Globes, which in my opinion is good news. But what happened was, they basically, I think, started to hire some technical people, and were talking to directors, and got a script written, but never came to me ahead of time. And I had been so bruised by really everything about Superman 4. I mean, I just am so apologetic and so, what can I tell you, folks? It's sad that happened with Superman 4. I think Superman 4 had the potential to be a very good movie, but it needed to be told on an epic scale. It needed to be big-time movie making, and it wasn't. I'll give you one example of what I mean by big-time movie making versus not. I basically worked on the story with Connor and Rosenthal, who wrote the script. We planned the story out together, and they wrote the screenplay. We talked one time about a scene, and of course, this was 1986, and the nuclear race was still important, and Reagan had failed with Gorbachev at a summit meeting in Geneva. The nuclear threat was still very much alive. Russia had just been referred to as an evil empire by Reagan, if you remember back in those days. And so the idea of Superman getting rid of nuclear weapons seemed like a reasonable thing to do. After all, Superman had been used in World War II to sell war bonds. It's just been something that didn't have to intersect with the real world. It needs to be quality. So we had envisioned a scene where Superman has decided, after spending time with the Fortress of Solitude, that he will intervene in this arms race, and he was going to land on 42nd Street, on the double line, right in the middle of the street, and then walk all the way down the street to the United Nations, which is at the end of the street on the East River, and he would give a speech to the assembled nations of the world. And of course, people would be pouring out of buildings and buses, and it would be like a Pied Piper. There were thousands of people walking down the street. And I got the idea of him walking rather than flying, actually, from watching Jimmy Carter get out of his motorcade at his inauguration, walking. That was a very inspiring moment of being with people. So, anyway, we had all this, and we were really excited about it. To make a long story short, when the moment came in the actual film of Superman 4, where he talks to the United Nations, it was shot in an industrial park in the British Midlands in the rain in November with 20 extras and a few pigeons going into their atmosphere. And then they wonder why the film can't literally take off. All the thinkings like that, to be very honest with you. Because Golden Globes, great deal makers, but they went around and bought a lot of stuff. They bought Masters of the Universe, they bought Captain America, they bought this one, that one, and the other one, thinking, well, we can just, it's Saturday morning cartoon, kiddie stuff, we can just throw it out there and it'll be fine. In my opinion, not respecting the audience, not respecting what the audience deserves to see. and I think they paid a big price for it. So, this is a few years ago, I would have done a Superman 5, contrary to anything you read in the papers or will read, but I'll tell you the truth here and now. If they had showed me, this is back to the Solheim's again a few years ago, if they had showed me a brilliant script for Superman 5 and a commitment that they're going to spend in today's dollars the kind of money that was spent for the talent we had in Superman 1, I would have been the first person to sign up. In the absence of that, I think it's better to stay home. That's really what happened. So, man, running on. Yeah. Do you want to just touch the microphone while you're right there? Thanks. No. No.
In general, what is your preference for the stage like versus screen? And in terms of the actors you chose, the British actors, do you really see British actors and the film instead of American actors?
The thing about the stage and screen, some people don't like to go back and forth. I do. Michael Caine, who I've worked with a couple of times, we did A Noisy Dog, was in the play, and we also did Death Trap. And I said, Michael, why don't you do a play? He says, I don't want to go to the theater 8 times a week and say the same words over and over again. I'll wait for the movie. So whatever material they send in, they'll wait for the movie. Now, I'm one of those people that thinks it's very exciting to go to the theater 8 times a week because you're not living in the past. It's always a fresh moment. Anything can happen. There's danger, there's excitement, there's spontaneity, there's all of that, and the chance to refine your performance by getting deeper and deeper. I did a play by Lance Wilson on Broadway called 5th of July, in which I played a Vietnam veteran and a double amputee. Now, I didn't know much about any of that experience. And during the rehearsal, I researched. During the playing of it, I became more and more steeped in that experience through doing it. I felt like it was something very valuable, and I played it 8 months. And I was thrilled to go to the theater every night. So that's the first answer. The second answer is that I have worked in the theater in England, and I see a kind of an old school and a new school. The old school tends to be more technically oriented. We learn the marks in advance. We are very about where the movements are, and sort of planning in effect. You know what you want to make happen with the audience at a given moment. But there are also many actors now that you see working in film. Jonathan Price, the British stage actor, Ian McKellen, many of the top, Vanessa Redgrave, who work what I would say is very much the American way, which is now becoming the universal way, which is that you are really just trying to be truthful all the time and trust that that will somehow be appropriate and will create a real moment rather than a planned moment. And that's why you get some really very intense British acting now, whereas I think you used to get just sort of impressive acting, and now it's much richer. In fact, our cultures are almost interchangeable now, in a way. What makes sense here also makes sense in England and vice versa. Sir? Out of all the science fiction programs on television, is the one that I would be in. To be honest with you, I'm not aware of everything that's out there, but from what I've seen, nothing really rises above the category of what I was telling about, series in general. So I don't think so. Nothing really. Sir. The question is about the difference between Dick Donner and Richard Lester on Man 2. I was very distraught when we lost Dick Donner because, as I said, he's America's biggest hit, and he also has great respect for the audience, and he's got warmth and respect for the legend. He was always talking. He had this big sign put up in his office, which is Superman flying, with our colors and everything, carrying a sign that says verisimilitude, which means made it real. And he was always dedicated to that. We would do a shot. The labor problem about it, work. I mean, I lost my back to this movie. I have a herniated disc because of the flying equipment, and I've been in back pain. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's not to feel sorry for me, but I really have had back pain for years since, from the flying equipment. So we gave a lot to make it happen on the first one. And we were inspired and led by Donner's respect for the myth. And I felt that Dick Lester, who is a wonderful man and a very, very talented filmmaker, He just has a different sensibility. And the number one thing, in my opinion, is that he is an expatriate. He was born in Philadelphia, and he was an American who went to England in 1956, I believe, and started making commercials and documentaries. And then he got to make the big Beatles movies. But he looks at America with a twist of wryness and a slightly sarcastic point of view, which I feel you begin to see creep into Superman 2 and creeps even more into Superman 3, where you get scenes like Richard Pryor going off the top of the building with a pink tablecloth and skis. See, Donner wouldn't have had that. That's disrespectful. It's not the right kind of humor. Listen, it's a take your choice. I personally like what Donner had to offer. When we made the film, I had to grow, and try to do my best. And I still think, even though Superman 3 is a weird kind of film, it contains a scene that I think is really interesting, and that was an idea that Tom Hanks had, and that's good Superman versus evil Superman fighting out the junkyard. That's a worthwhile scene. That's pretty good. That's pretty legend and all of that, but it takes place in a stylistically odd sort of movie, so it's kind of a hodgepodge. I think Superman 2 is probably the funniest to most people, but Superman 1, I think, is curious to the vision that it started out with. Somebody hasn't spoken yet. Way in the back, thank you. Yeah. Do you want to come up and talk to the microphone? Thanks. Speak right out there. When did I start? When I was a lot younger. The thing that's funny for me now is that, I made the first one when I was 24. I'm now 41. And proud to be 41, I have no problem with that. But I do notice that sometimes parents will bring their kids along and they've been watching the video. I'm sure you've all done this. They're watching the video. And little Timmy has been seeing Superman all week, and we're going to be Superman, okay? So Timmy's all prepped to be Superman. And then I walk into the room and Timmy goes, you can't tell me that that's... So I go, I know, what can I say? But they'll have to go home and do the explaining. Where else? Sir. Noise is off. Yes, we had a lot of fun with Noise is off. Tell me the problem was with it though. There's another movie that unfortunately, if you sit down and watch it on video and give it a chance, it's pretty funny. It's okay. Now it died in the theaters again, and here's my take on why Island died. And I don't think there's going to be a Noise is Off convention in the future. I'm back on Island for that one, but because it's not that special. But the problem is there's a big difference between American and English humor. English humor is a lot based on cruelty. We laugh when people fall down. We don't really care to get up again. It's like, you're down. That's Monty Python humor, right? That's the British way. It's cutting. American humor tends to be in a romantic comedy tradition about misunderstandings that lead to reconciliations and happiness and romance and marriage. Now, in my opinion, the mistake was to have that group of misfit, no-good, lousy actors succeed on Broadway. Because in the English, there's no way they're going to succeed on Broadway. These people should be out of the business. And I think if we had kept that, if the studio had the confidence to let it be as kind of cynical about success and failure, it had really been about these bunch of losers, it would have been hysterical. But because it was, we made it to Broadway, and in spite of all this, it was just hard for the audience to take. I think the Americanization of it didn't really help. Gee, I wonder why. I'm passing out some new channels, but here we go. Oh, this murder. Right. Thank you. The thing about it, switching channels was an interesting thing happened. That would have been me and Michael Caine again. He was cast with Kathleen Turner and myself, and we had a rehearsal 2 days before we started filming. That I want to tell you, if they had just taped that rehearsal and sold that on video, it would have gone through the roof. It was hysterical. Michael Caine is so funny, you just wouldn't believe it. And I went off thinking, great. Now, Michael Caine was actually still shooting Jaws 4 in the Bahamas at the time, and he was supposed to join us on the first day of his day, like sort of 2 weeks later. But the mechanical shark broke down. And everything ground to a halt while they were sending for parts from Ohio for the hydraulics to keep the shark going. So finally the producer realized that, we're stuck, and they had to ask him to withdraw from the movie and replace him with Burt Reynolds. Now Burt Reynolds came in at the last minute to a show that was already going with people who already had certain rhythms and expectations, and it wasn't very comfortable for them. It just wasn't a really easy time, and the movie was filmed out a little tense after that. I don't know, it's something that I think I like the character of Freddy, the Noises Off, better because he was sweet and dim, whereas this guy was vain and dim. This is not quite as nice. Right in front. The question was, in the first Superman, did I do a lot of my own stunts? The answer is yes. I did virtually all of it. And if I think back to it now, I was crazy nuts. I mean, I think back to this stuff that I did, where I was dangerous to myself and other people, that I had no business doing. But I'll tell you what happened. I would put on the clothes, and I would get up on the wires, and my state of mind was like, if these wires break, it doesn't matter, I'll keep flying. In fact, the famous line that Margaret Kidder says, where I say, easy miss, I got you, the helicopter, famous line came from something, you got me, who's got you? That line came from a real event that happened while we were shooting the film. In Superman 1, there's this scene where a burglar is going inside of the building to the suction cups, right? And then suddenly Superman is standing on the side of the building and takes him off to the top. We shot a lot of that 10 stories up a building in New York City. It's number 9 West 57th Street. That big red 9 out there on the side. That's a real building, a real place. And we shot that on the summer night in July of 1977. And pulled a huge crowd. People stopped me. There were 5,000 people lining the sidewalks. And what was really cool was that I come out and take off this bathrobe that I always wear, and there's the vest and the cape and the whole thing, and I'm wearing a leather, little leather diaper that was really my flying equipment, and I'm attached by this hip and that hip, and that's it. The little red pockets go off, and there's this huge construction crane and the wires coming down, and get attached to all this stuff, and I go, okay, take it away. And I start to go, oh, you're clearly wearing wires and being hoisted by a crane, but the crowd roared, they cheered, so they were looking past the wires and past me because Superman was flying here. Now, the guy playing the burglar was not quite as taken by all this magic. In fact, he was scared to death. This guy is right with me, Dick Donner, and he's got this one scene, he's playing the burglar. And Dick Donner goes like, so, here's the deal. You'll be on the side of the building, and then you're going to break in the window, but Super comes along, and he's going to grab you, and bring you back down. It's kind of simple, that's it. Okay, that's fine, good, okay, got it. Sure. Donner walks away, and okay, take him up, and the guy's on his own harness too, and I'm holding him there, and we start to go up, and the guy goes, and he panics. And he's out there, we're 10 stories up, oh my God, I can't believe, oh my God, oh. He's totally joking, and I said, it's all right, I got you. It never occurred to me that, do that. There was talk 10 years ago of my replacing James Bond. I'll tell you how this happened. The James Bond movies are made at Pinewood Studios in England, where we made the Superman films 1, 2, and 3. Cubby Broccoli, who's the producer of those films, has the same table at lunch all the time, sitting over there by the window. And the Superman gang used to sort of have the same table over here. And I think this is back in about 1980 when we're doing, about 79, we're doing Superman 2, 79, 80, we're doing Superman 2. And they were looking for the next guy to play Bond. And I kept sitting down at the same table. It was like in his field of view so much with his black hair. And he was getting desperate. They lost Sean Connery, they didn't have anybody else. And I think that was a desperation call. It's just like, sometimes they get in this weird mood in Hollywood. It's like, I pick him, you know? And that's how some people get their jobs. Because literally the ship is leaving, they've got millions of dollars at stake. It's like, okay, you're in. And the question being, I just got to be there at the right time. In fact, that's how I got Superman. I got Superman. If I had known how desperate they were, I could have asked for a lot more money. But by the time I got the script, they had already considered offering the part to the producer's wife's dentist. Ilya Salkin's wife at the time, they'd been through, we talked about, Redford and so long, She is, his wife at the time was in the dentist chair, and she's lying back in the chair, and worked on and looks up at the dentist, and he's leaning over, and begins to think, he's got black hair and sort of features, he looks like Superman, and they seriously were going to bring him in for a screen test. Fortunately, Lynn Stallmaster, who was the casting director, had cast me the year before in a little-known movie called Grey Lady Down with Carlton Heston, which had about 5 lines. And he told Dick Donner, here's this kid, he's got a lot of stage training, he's been on TV, he's supposed to be pretty good, why don't you see him? And you take my picture and put it on the in pile. And Donner looked at the picture and put it back on the out pile. And this happened 3 or 4 times, kind of like a little daily routine. Donner kept finding this picture in the in pile, and he put it back in the out pile. And then finally Stallmaster said, just see the guy, okay? So what happened was, the meetings were at the Sheraton Hotel in New York City, which is right on the way down 5th Avenue Grand Central Station. I had to go catch a train. I get the call. I'm supposed to go to this meeting. And I said, what's Superman? That's not going to work. I said, oh no, yeah, that wouldn't work. And my agent at the time said, just go, you never know what happens. I said, well, where is it? Well, it's in the hotel, it's right on the way to the train station. And I kid you not, if it had been anyplace else, I would have gone. Nobody knew. Nobody read a script. They were having these meetings without a script and stuff. So I stopped off at the Sheraton Hotel because it was on the way to the train station. Met Dick Donner, and was asked to go to London and do a screen test. All that has nothing to do with James Bond, but that's just, the point is how things get cast sometimes. Ben. Was I a fan of Superman when I was a small boy? I tell you, when I grew up, it was basically my mom and my brother and I in New Jersey, and she didn't have TV. So we never saw it, and we weren't really supposed to get comic books and stuff. Of course, whenever I went off to day camp in the summers, my first kid at comic, and when people were trading and whatever, but I had only a vague awareness of it. I just didn't know much about it. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Would I tell you cameo on Supergirl? What I do think, I don't think they're going to make any more of those, are they? Or would I have? Sure. Sure, as a matter of fact, I did call when they were making the film of Batman, the first Batman film. I was just joking, but I happened to say at dinner one time, Batman, all he's got is a cool car, right? But doesn't he need some help sometimes? And why don't they write a scene where he, just passing through, I don't know what, just like a kite, carrying whatever. So there's this universe in which there's more than one character at work, because in the real comic world they're often out there. Well, that was absolutely laughed down. That was a very haughty reply came back. They want nothing to do with that stuff. They were trying to make Christopher Batman. They're trying to make it very dark, very brooding. You notice all Batman 1 takes place at night. The colors are muted. There's a very hamlet kind of. And Superman 1 is very much bright colors and daytime and vivid, warmth and all that. So they're kind of fundamentally seem to be very different. Sir. Well, what happened. It's about the Blue Angels. I did a video, I can't remember the name of it, like Ride the Sky or something like that, about the Blue Angels back in 1982. And in order to, very few people are allowed to sit in the jet. They've got one jet that's got 2 seats. And I'm one of the few civilians that at that time have been allowed to do it. But I got to ride in the actual rehearsal of the show, which is a full-out performance of the show without the crowd there. And it's very impressive. I've been a pilot for 20 years. I've flown a lot of different planes and stuff, but this is flying on a level that is really, really awesome. The most terrifying moment, actually, or the one that grabs your attention, as they say, is where all the planes go to 6 different points of the compass and aim at each other and meet over the middle of the runway, and they're only separated by 50 feet. So the other jet coming from your 12 o'clock position looks like a little fly on the windshield, but the closing rate is about 700 miles an hour, and suddenly, you know, and you can't tell that isn't just going to just come right out of the last thing you see. But the pilot is completely in control of everything. Cool. Now, in order to get you ready for that flight, I had to go out and they had to see that I could take it, because you don't wear a G suit, and you're pulling 6, 7 Gs sometimes. So they wanted to see if I could take it. Well, the word on the base was, let's take Superman up there and ring him out. So they took me out from the Naval Air Station in California, went out over the Pacific, and they did what's known as terrain masking. Terrain masking is when the thing is flying about this high off the deck, doing 400 miles an hour to evade enemy radar. And it's been these tight turns and stuff. Well, the way you avoid getting airsick and stuff and blacking out is you literally have to force blood to different parts of your body, like back down into your legs and stuff, which you do by screaming. You literally just like that the whole time. So I spent most of the time just screaming, But it was a very satisfying moment for me when of course, they waited until after the flight to get the local news media out there. They're like, wait a minute, Superman's going to get down and he's going to toss cookies on the pavement here, we're going to want to see this, And so I the hatch goes up, they're all waiting, cameras are ready. So fortunately, I felt fine. And I got down the thing, came down and said, thank you, I enjoyed that. Wow. Yeah, right there. That's the romantic theme, okay? The Rickle? Oh, did I ever have any aspirations to go after the Red Butler role in the remake of Gone with the Wind? I think that's like walking in the quicksand. It's what it seems to me. I can't imagine that would be a win situation. I mean, there's certain films that are so great they're only left alone. Sorry, I can't quite hear you. I'll be honest with you. My senior is one of my less favorite ones, just because I think that it sensationalized what was basically a true story about how the Vatican profited from the black market in World War II, and I think which is the truth. It really did happen. But the movie, I think, was aimed at titillating the audience rather than telling the true story. And I feel it was a little on the glossy side. I also think that I learned more about film acting than I knew at the time. I wasn't a comfortable stage actor, but I still have, I think, a ways to go as a film actor. So if I look back at it now, I feel a little bit like, that's not the one I want, read out at the retrospective later on. I think, there are others. Sir?